Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock and time for the St. John Daily Word. I'm Pastor Ron DeGennar, and I welcome you this afternoon. We have several announcements for you and then a very brief devotional. I want to remind you, Silver Sneakers meets usually every Tuesday and Thursday. They are not meeting tomorrow. That is because we have a spaghetti dinner tomorrow night. Bible study with me leading it will meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the sanctuary or online. We are studying the book of Genesis, the book of beginnings. Parkway Food Ministry, we are always in need of food. They're always in need of food. They distribute it to those in the community, serving about 300 families. But they have not, we ask that you collect and bring to the church non-perishable food items, peanut butter, canned goods, and cereal. We may do something special during Lent, and we'll let you know about that as we draw closer to Lent, which will be in March. Faith and Fellowship is Wednesdays at 11 a.m. in the Education Building. Pastor Dorman leads that. It's bring your brown bag, and you can eat your food and pray and talk about things going on in your life. Faith, fellowship, support, and prayer life. Pastor Dorman also teaches on Sundays in the Fellowship Hall, Theology 101. And I think he's on about the fourth week of this, and starting the fifth week next week. And he's doing a 13-week series on the basics of theology. Fellowship dinners. This is a new ministry, the first and third Friday of the month, and it started in January at 5:30, and there's usually a cost of about $5. They had pizza the last time. I'm not sure what they're doing next time. Sometimes it will be a potluck type of thing, but they're visiting together, playing games, talking about informational things, just fellowshipping. I think it was about 20 or more people there this last one. Spaghetti dinner is tomorrow night, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. There are some tickets still available for 4 and 6 for dine-in. There are still takeout tickets available for all of those times. We apologize we had to raise the cost, but they're $13 each or 2 for $25. We are the lowest folks around for those kinds of meals. And we hadn't raised the price in 15 years or so. So they're available. They were available in the narthex. You can stop by the church office still this afternoon or tomorrow morning to get some tickets. Ladies' First Friday Fellowship will be Friday, February 7th at 10 a.m. in the Fellowship Hall. This is open to all ladies and their friends. We also wanted to let you know that Charity Crafters would be meeting after that at 12:30 in the Fellowship Hall. All crafty and non-crafty folks are welcome. They're making crafts to basically donate them away to other groups and things like that. And so we encourage you to come if you like to do those things, and you can work with that. The trustees will be meeting Monday, February 3rd. That's a week from today, 10 a.m. in the Education Building. And that will be their first meeting of the year. They're going to elect their leaders, and the new trustees will be seated for that and work with that. So we encourage you to come and be a part of that if you are a trustee. Psalm 119, verse 89 through 96 is our text for today's devotional. And I'm just going to read that all the way through and comment. Now, Psalm 119, before I read that, is a large psalm, and it is what's called an alphabetic psalm, where what they do is they use all of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And what they do is it's broken up into sections, and each sentence in that section also has that Hebrew letter at the beginning. Now, obviously, this doesn't work for us in English, but in Hebrew they do that. It is whoever wrote this psalm. It's an unnamed writer. It's a powerful literary masterpiece, and 119 is a big psalm, and it has wonderful things. We're just going to focus on this one little section. And it begins with, "The Lord exists forever. Your word is firmly fixed in heaven. Your faithfulness endures to all generations. You have established the earth, and it stands fast. By your appointment they stand today, for all things are your servants. If your law had not been my delight, I would have perished in my misery. I will never forget your precepts, for by them you have given me life. I am yours. Save me, for I have sought your precepts. The wicked lie in wait to destroy me, but I consider your decrees. I have seen a limit to all perfection, but your commandment is exceedingly broad. In this section, what the writer is reminding us of is that the law of the Lord brings life. Now, that's a stark contrast to some of what is said in the New Testament, because the law points us to death. The law tells us how we ought to live. But this writer, this psalmist, is saying to see beyond the law. The law needs to be written on our hearts. We need to do the things that God desires of us to do because we love God and we are called His people. And because we love God, because we are His and He is ours, we have hope and we have life. So the writer is saying even that the Word of God is written all over this creation. Now, what I learned in seminary and in college, because I went to a Christian liberal arts college, is though we have what's called general revelation, and that means that everything that is created has God's fingerprints all over it, that we could see God's presence and God's creative efforts. But it is not quite enough to get us over the finish line to be in relationship with God. Because we see these things, we marvel. A sunset. I've not seen the Grand Canyon in person. I've seen pictures of it. I was talking yesterday in church with Pastor Dorman. He's going to do a trip to South Dakota like Janine and I went and did a few years ago. And we told him, don't miss the Badlands. When we drove into Badlands National Park, it just took our breath away. It was so beautiful. It's an hour drive through there if you just drive straight through. It took us 3 hours. We kept stopping at the observations places and looking and enjoying the beauty, climbing on some of the rock formations. We saw all kinds of animals. We saw all sorts of beauty. And then when we went by it going home, when we left and we were traveling that way, we saw the sunrise coming up with some of that. It was just all beautiful, just all of that stuff, and it took our breath away. And I'm also reminded of a story when my daughter, who is in her mid-40s now, when she was a little girl, I was in college, and I had taken this class on field botany, or field biology, but it was mostly botany. And so we were doing all these different things, and there's this little island. It's called Bird Island. It's in the Hudson River, and you have to be very careful when you go there, when you go and leave that little island. It's called Bird Island because it's a sanctuary. It's a bird sanctuary. It sits in the middle of the Hudson River, and you drive out this little causeway to get to it. Well, the thing is, when the tide comes in, as it does on rivers, the water goes over the causeway. So you have to be careful when you drive out there, when you come back, that you don't flood your car. We were there, and the water actually got a little higher as we were coming off when I was there with my daughter. She was about 2 years old, maybe 3. Anyway, we were walking through, and we came to this place where it was filled with sphagnum moss. You may be familiar with that if you ever do flower ranging. That's what they use. Sometimes they use clay, but sometimes they use this moss, and you hold it, and it's very wet, and it keeps the flowers looking fresh for a while and all those things. And it's a very compact, thick piece of moss. And so there was this area where you walked and the ground moved, and it was all this moss. And we're walking on it. I'm holding my daughter's hand, and I had been there a few days earlier, and I was just sort of retracing these places that I was seeing, these beautiful places that I was seeing in my class. And so we're there, and we're walking on it, and my daughter Sarah looks at me and says, "Daddy, is this God's carpet? I've never walked on anything so soft." Now, my heart as her dad and as a Christian and as a pastor, or at that point I was training to be a pastor, I just loved that she got that. And that she could make that connection of seeing that beauty and experiencing that and saying, "Is this God's carpet?" And I said to her, "No, Sarah, but we don't know that it is. We don't know that it isn't. We know that God has made the earth and everything in it, including you and including me." And that was an acceptable answer for her. But I still remember just the innocence of her seeing that and understanding that. I've been with people when they've seen the sunrise or the sunset, and there are beautiful vistas that we see, and it takes their breath away. I've not seen this, but Janine has a story of the first time she ever went down to Key West. She was at the southernmost point where they have it's called Ballast Point, and she was there, and she was looking around at it, and sunset came. And so when the sunset came, there were people, street performers who came out to grab people's attention. And one of the things that she saw was someone was playing on some musical instruments. There were several people there. They were playing musical instruments, and they were playing Amazing Grace because it was just so beautiful. And so we see that beauty all around us. But the point of that beauty is to point us to God. So I hope for you that you understand that God loves you and cares for you. This church loves you, and I love you. And we want to do our best to honor God with our hearts, with our lives, and with every deed that we do, because we are living signposts of God's grace and mercy that is only found in Jesus the Christ. God bless you. Have a great day. I hope this finds you well. Stay warm. It will be warming up later in this week. It'll be almost 80 by Saturday is what I understand. See you at spaghetti dinner. See you at Bible study. See you at any of the various events that are taking place here at St. John. God bless you. Bye now.